So I started off with this Tiddly Inks Wrapped in Love image from Stamping Bella, and I super sped up all the Copic coloring to like 400% faster than I normally do because I didn't realize till after I was done coloring that this whole thing was out of focus. So rather than redo it, which I don't have time for, I just thought I would still show it because you can still see what I'm doing. It's just not obviously in very good detail. So as always, I did the skin, E50, E01, E13, blended that together with the E01, and then blended again everything together with the E50. As always, getting the skin and everything done first. Once that's out of the way, I added color to her cheeks with the R20, and this time I didn't bother blending it. I wanted it to be really just circular and stand out a little bit more. And then for her hair, very simple. I just scribbled in E23, literally. You just do little scribbles since it's already curly. And then I went with E27, added more scribbles, really light touch so you can still kind of see some curls, and then E29 is my darkest. The final little scribbles, you don't have to be neat with this at all, it's just the way the image is. And then I did her dress. I went with B000 as my base, added B01, and then went in with B04. Again, I purposely did not want to be perfect with any of the coloring, with just, it's such a cute and quirky little image, and then all the like wire or whatever you want to call it wrapped around her just kind of makes it for almost like a little messy image. So then for the little part at the bottom of her skirt, I just did RV11, RV32, and then dabbed in RV34. Did the same thing with her socks, and then her shoes I decided to just do blue as well. So I did the B01 and then B04, and then blended it back together with the B01. And then the bottom of her shoes was just W7. And then finally for the hearts, it's just R27 and just really, really light touch using the very tip of the marker. Just dab that in, no blending or anything because they're way too small to do anything with. And then that was it for the image. So then for the shadowing, I started with my W3 and added in all the darker areas. Again, I wasn't being super precise, just going in with the idea that my light source was kind of coming from the upper right. So once I had all my W3 down, and I even went over like on top of her clothing because it would just show up as you can see. I then went in with my W1 to blend out all of the darker gray that I'd put in there. So then once I've got that all blended out, I go in with my W00 and blend that out finally, just so it's a more softer and no harsh edges. So yeah, and then I realized I was out of focus. So once I got that back in focus, I grabbed a Spellbinder's circle die, taped it into place so it doesn't shift when I die cut it, as you can see. And then I'm going on to the cards. So I'm using the Fancy Pants Love pattern papers and a white card front. So I die cut a few, or trimmed down a few papers, and then I decided I was going to edge everything with my Memento Tuxedo black ink. It just gives everything a nice little like black edge without going to a bunch of effort like layering everything with black cardstock. It's just a habit I picked up from seeing different scrapbook pages over the years, people doing that. I really liked the look of it. So then once I've got that done, the sentiment came with this little Wrapped in Love image, so I inked that one up with my Brilliance Graphite Black and then punched it out with my Stampin' Up! Word window punch, and again edged all of that with my Memento Tuxedo black ink, because if you're going to do one part, really, you technically should do all of it just for consistency's sake. So then I got that done, and then kind of fiddled with where I would want it to lay out. And then I grabbed some Doodlebug Ladybug twine, because it's the right shade of red. I was going to wrap it up just vertically, like neatly on the card, but then I kind of was inspired by the way she's wrapped with that little heart garland, so I decided to wrap the twine haphazardly around the card and then tie it in a little bow in the corner and trim it off. I kind of like how that turned out. I thought it was kind of cute. So once I've got that, and then the sentiment, I ended up moving the sentiment to higher up than I had planned because I realized I did get a little smear of black ink on the main image. So again, rather than redo it, you just fix it. So I did that, and then you can see when I flip it over to put on the dimensionals, I had actually started this card and stamped the image and it didn't turn out. So again, I just flipped it over and started the card where you guys saw. So as always, you can fix anything for the most part when you're making cards like this. So once I've got the card front done, I wanted to add a little embellishment, and this is one of the Doodlebug. This is called Cinehearts Braddies. It's like fuzzy. It's so cute. I've had these for a couple years, I think. I've just been hoarding them, so they're probably not even available anymore, but I pulled it out and I made myself use another one. And then that's it for the card front, so I'm going to adhere this to the card base itself, which is CC Designs. I think it's called Sand Cardstock. Sorry, it's late. My mind is just not with me at the moment. As always, there'll be links in the description box to everything. And then finally, of course, I could not leave this card without adding some bling to it, so I grabbed my Stardust Stickles and dabbed that on the little hearts. And then rather than edit this part out, I actually took just a pin to gently scrape off a little bit of the stickles on some of the first hearts because I got way too much on them and you could barely see them. So you just lightly take a pin, very lightly lift off some of the stickles and wipe it off, and then it's fixed. So finally, for the inside of the card, I was going to follow pretty much the exact same layout I used on the outside, but not line it with white cardstock like I did on the front. So I'll just use the pattern papers. I die cut a larger circle with one of my Circle Spellbinders dies, and then of course edged everything with the black ink. So then that was done. And then the sentiment I chose, it's from my All About Love stamp set. So again, inked it up with the Brilliance graphite black ink, stamped it onto the pink Pirouette cardstock, trimmed off that little piece so that I could use another punch. This is the Stampin' Up! Key Tag punch. Oh yeah, I can't talk tonight. And again, inked the edges with the black Memento Tuxedo black ink. And just an FYI, if you decide to do this on your cards or scrapbook pages or anything, it can get really messy. That's why I smeared it on the front of the card and everything else, because it gets on your fingers, it just gets everywhere, but I like the look of it, so I keep doing it. So I applied adhesive to all the pieces before even putting any inside the card, just to make things go faster. So then I just had to stick them in place and it was done. So as always, links will be in the description box below the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!